I'm Dolly Curtis, and today I'm with my friend John Traganese, who has spent the summer building these beautiful kayaks. Hi, John.
Hi, Dolly. How are you today?
It's quite a project you undertook this summer, and I know that you had it all planned in your mind ahead of time.
Yeah, we certainly did. We were planning on going on vacation to Long Island and Martha's Vineyard and decided, well, we wanted to build some kayaks to get on the water this year.
Just like that. You
just like that, yeah.
Well, we have to first start by saying that John and Amy, his wife, they have two little boys about 4 years old and 6, about that age?
4 and 7.
7. So they have the 4 of them, and John decided to build 2 kayaks. You told me one, well, you explain it, one from a kit.
Yeah, one was actually built from a kit. I ordered the kit through Chesapeake Lightcraft, who is a manufacturer of one type of kayak kit, and the other was built from plans, which also came along with the kit.
Now, have you ever done this before? Have you ever built?
Never built kayaks before, but I have done some woodworking, so I have some woodworking experience. But it's something that can be very easily done by the average person who can handle hand tools.
Are you sure? Because I heard you built and renovated parts of your house, though.
Yeah, I did. But the kits are fairly easy to put together. They're put together by the stitch and glue method, which really brings it into the hands of the average homeowner that can actually handle power tools and hand tools.
Okay, well, we're all going to believe you. And there's lots of people watching this who want to figure out how they can make a boat that for themselves that they could afford with their own labor.
Well, let's start with some of the materials you use.
Okay.
This is the plywood that's used. It's called okumi. It's a marine plywood, and as you can see, it's a couple of thicknesses. This would be the bottom layer, which is 6 millimeter thickness, and this is the side, which is 4 millimeter. And because it's so thin, it's very easily bent.
You don't have to wet that or anything
No.
to get it in that shape?
Nope, doesn't have to be wet. It's all put together dry with copper wire, which is run through holes that are drilled every 4 inches apart.
So that's what's holding that kayak together, that's underneath all that resin and...
Right. Initially, that's what's holding it together.
No nails, I mean?
No nails. The only mechanical fastener is the copper wire, which is a very thin copper wire bought at any hardware store.
That's amazing to think that that's what's holding that together. Okay, can we show this to the camera over on the other side?
Yep.
So is there a special way of twisting these things?
No, you just drill a hole about 3/8 of an inch from the end of the plywood, and you would then feed the wire through and just twist it together.
And that's called, what did you call it? The
stitch and glue method. That's the name of the method used to build a boat. The kit will come already pre-cut with all the pieces ready to assemble. If you're going to build from plans, you need to get the dimensions off the plans and sketch out the pieces and then cut the plywood to shape. The biggest thing when you're cutting the plywood yourself is to get the curves fair and smooth so that there's no ripples or bumps in there. If there's ripples or bumps, you're going to see it. It's going to translate out to the shape of the boat.
So it's like making a dress. You make a pattern. It comes with can you show me the drawings? I mean, how does that work? You make a pattern from...
Yeah, these are the plans that came with the boat, and it details how the boat goes together. But if you were to actually build the kit or build the boat from plans, you have a table of offsets, which is a number of measurements. These measurements are put at stations so far apart. These stations are every foot. Then you see a number in the boxes corresponding to each of those lines. The number that you're looking at here is 6 inches plus 3/8. That's how you'd read the offset table. All the second numbers after the dash are in eighths, and plus means just a little bit more.
Okay. Just a little bit more.
Right. They're not very particular when it comes to the 16th. So then you would sketch this form out onto your plywood.
In full scale?
In full scale.
And make a pattern.
And
you sketch it out.
Right. And then you'd put nails on every line that you drew, and you'd get a very long board that you can bend around the nails, and that will give you a fair curve, a nice smooth curve. So you'd bend the nails around, or you bend the board around the nails and sketch that line out onto the plywood. Then once you've drawn that line, you'd cut it out with just a regular old
This looks like
Jigsaw.
you have to have quite a few power tools to do this, though.
A few.
Even though you say you can do it at home.
Yeah, a
in your
few.
garage.
This is something maybe a homeowner might own.
Oh, might
This
own.
is really one of the bigger, the only. This
Ma-
is
Major tools that you really need is this jigsaw.
right.
I-
The major tool that you need would be a jigsaw and some sanders.
Oops.
That's all. Whoop. That's all the power tools that you would need.
Okay.
Then the other hand tools that you would need are a couple of planes, a regular old hand plane, and this one's called a spoke shave. You would use these once you cut out the shape. You want to stay a little large, stay a little proud of the lines so that you're not going right on the line when you're cutting it.
They have
Leave it
leeway.
about leave it about 1/8 of an inch larger, and then you would take the hand plane and plane down to the line. So that way you're sure to get a nice, smooth, fair curve, and you could sight it down the end like that as you're cutting it to make sure you've gotten a nice, smooth curve.
How many pieces do you have in the kayak? I mean, is it made up of just a few, or it looks like it's pretty complicated?
Yeah, these kayaks are made from 5 pieces. Actually, these kayaks are made from 10 pieces because each piece is 2 pieces.
Is this symmetrical?
Right, because they're actually cut down the center because these kayaks are 13 feet long and the wood only comes in 8-foot lengths. So you need to join 2 pieces of wood together to get a 13-foot
Okay.
length of wood or a 16-foot length of wood that you can cut out and use for the bottom piece and the sides. So each piece you see here is actually 2 pieces. This is one of the side
One
pieces.
half and then- right.
One half. This one is another part of the side, and this is the bottom panel.
Well, what's the biggest advantage to this kayak other than the fact that you were able to build it in your garage? You didn't have to get any special space to do it. You could do it yourself. Is it the weight? Is it the
Right.
weight of it?
Yeah, these kayaks are very lightweight. They weigh in less than a plastic boat would weigh in. You can see some of the plastic boats might weigh in around 65 pounds, 75 pounds. These are around 40 pounds each.
I heard that you're able to put them on a Honda and just go off to the public launch with them.
Oh yeah, we have a roof rack for the Honda. We have a Honda Accord. We just put it on top of that and are able to transport it anywhere we want to.
So I'm hoping this afternoon you're going to do that for us. You're going to, all 4 of you are going to put it on the Honda, and we're going to go watch you put this in the water.
Yeah, the
That's
weather
the plan.
looks great, so
Okay.
I think we can definitely get
That's
on the
what I
water
want to
today.
see. Well, you told me that during the summertime you ended up in Martha's Vineyard and you were able to launch it from just about any place.
Yeah, we sure did. There's a number of places you can launch it up there. We armed ourselves with a good map of the island and investigated open space land, public boat docks that we were able to launch from. We were able to get out to bays and beaches that you could only gain access to.
You have 2 little children now. Are they both swimmers or not at this point?
They swim. They're not too proficient in swimming, but they do swim.
So everybody's wearing life preservers? Or is that
Right,
what's going
yeah.
on?
Oh, yeah, I wear a life preserver. It's a rule of safety, really, to have a life preserver on. In case the boat rolls over or something, you don't know what circumstances you're going to run into. So it's always a good safety procedure to have a life vest on.
So you have 1 adult and 1 child, actually. Each kayak has 1 and 1.
Right.
But aren't some kayaks just singly done? I mean, for 1 person?
Right. There are many kayaks you see are only 1-person models. They have a smaller cockpit. As we noticed, these boats have a larger cockpit, so we can fit actually an adult and a child. The weight rating for these boats is up to 240 pounds. So
Oh, it's total.
total paddler and gear. So any cargo that you put on, plus yourself,
Well, do they have
needs to weigh into.
a name? Do these boats have a name? I mean, I know all these boat lovers know all these things from other boat building classes I've seen. They have names to them.
Yeah, these boats don't have names yet.
They
We
don't
haven't
have it?
named them yet.
Oh, so they're not like an Adirondack, not a certain type of boat?
Oh, the model of this boat is the Mill Creek.
The Mill Creek?
Yeah, it's really just a kayak design that was created by the manufacturer of the kit, Chesapeake.
So then
Boat
after that, after you name your boats, do you need to take a boating certification, or, I mean, is this really as simple as a person that figures out, well, you looks like you have a lot of skill here because they look beautifully finished.
Oh,
but
thank you.
you have to know what you're doing, I would think, to start to get involved. Or you practiced on the first one and really perfected it by the second one? Or?
Yeah, it's actually one did serve as a sort of an experimental model, and then we went to the other one and perfected some techniques. But it's nice to have a little bit of expertise with some of the tools, the hand planes. There's a lot of sanding involved in the final stages of it. The epoxy resins that go on, you need to be careful and express some care and handling of those products. For instance, a dust mask.
I would think.
I've got a dust mask with a couple of different filters. This one is a filter that's just rated for dust. There is another one that's rated for organic vapors, that if you're doing this in a closed environment, you want to be certain that you do wear a filter that has organic vapor capabilities.
Because of all that resin, all that polyurethane or whatever you've got built up on that.
Right. It's you follow the safety data sheet for the materials that you use.
So you don't find yourself on the floor. What is this tape that you said is fiberglass tape?
Right. This is fiberglass tape. After you stitch the pieces together, so you'd now end up with a boat that is coming together like this.
And there's no glue here?
Not yet.
Not yet.
The glue then comes in when you begin to put the fiberglass tape on. The actual glue itself is epoxy, and this is a two-part epoxy that you'd measure. These are pre-measured pumps. You do a squirt of each of these, and that pre-measures the epoxy for you, so that you don't have to spoon it out or measure it into containers.
That's
and
great,
then pour it into.
It's less toxic too that way.
Yeah, it's very easy to handle this way, and it kind of eliminates a lot of the mixing problems. Many of the problems that you can run into with epoxies are all in the mixing and the measuring out of the hardener and the resin.
And then it's not right, and then it doesn't dry right. And
Right,
then you're in
exactly.
trouble.
This way, it eliminates those problems. It's very easy to work with. The next thing you need to have for the epoxy to act as a glue is a thickening agent. You add, in this case we added wood flour to the epoxy to make it an adhesive, and then it makes it into the consistency of peanut butter. And then you just take a tool like a putty knife. In the case of rounding over, putting these fillets in, this is when you epoxy it here, it's called a fillet, because you're basically coping in epoxy into that joint, thickened epoxy.
And the thickener is what helps put the two epoxy pieces, makes them putty-like.
Right, exactly. And I would cut this to a rounded shape. I would take a plastic
So it would fit better?
so it fits right in that seam there.
Okay.
And then this would be stitched together. You'd put the epoxy fillet in there, so it'd be like peanut butter filling that whole gap. And then from there, you would put the epoxy, the fiberglass tape right over the top of that.
I see. And how does that just work its way in? It just becomes part of the whole boat?
Very much so, yeah. That just becomes virtually transparent when the epoxy hits it. You'd roll over a clear coat of epoxy that's unthickened, and that would adhere the tape to the fillet of the epoxy that you applied, and then you wait whatever the determined time for your epoxy that you're using is to dry. There's different hardeners. You can get a fast hardener that will harden within 4 to 6 hours, or you can get the slow hardeners, which can take 18 hours to harden.
Well, what about the humidity? We had so much humidity this summer, and does that affect all of this from happening? I would think it slowed you down a little.
Yeah, it can slow down the hardening of the epoxy, and I was doing this kind of part-time at night, so I would get the epoxy on and I'd leave it overnight to dry. Usually within 24 hours the epoxy was set up and dry, so I can go on to the next step the following day.
Well, I got to admit, I came by while John was working on these kayaks, and he was taking a few days from work and getting ready to go on vacation. So you really accomplished a lot, because that was just in the midsummer that you were, and you only had one done at that time.
Right, yeah, it was quite a project.
You don't park your cars in here anymore.
Obviously not, no.
What about the interior? What do you do with the interior of these kayaks?
The
You
interior...
have seats, you have to have paddles.
Right, there's a seat that we constructed. You'll see that a little bit later as we go paddling. We bought paddles. We didn't build them, although there are plans where you can build the paddles. But in the essence of time, we were trying to get this done for vacation. We went out and bought a set of paddles to go with them.
Now, you weren't concerned about putting a 4-year-old in the kayak and
No, they were actually very excited to get in. They were really looking forward to the vacation and getting out on the water.
And you talk about the sound. You're not talking about a lake here. You put them in the sound. You put them in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, well, we put them in bays and bays and the Long Island Sound.
And they can handle all the power boats and everything else that's coming by. And
Yeah, we stayed close to shore, so you have to observe sort of the rules of the water when it comes to power boats. They pretty much watch out for personal craft that has undermanned power. So
I heard it was a big sensation. Amy told me that before you even get the boat in near the water, everybody's coming over asking you how you built them and are they really that lightweight?
Yeah, they attracted a lot of attention. It was almost taken away from the time we had to go paddling out on the water. But
Really?
Why
Why is that people were so taken by it? I was, because I love seeing someone do something like this and get it accomplished and use it. But
Yeah, I think they were intrigued by the materials. You can see the natural wood sort of shows through, even though there is actually a coat of fiberglass on the outside of the boat as well.
you mean this material is used in larger pieces?
Right. We have, you'd end up getting a whole sheet of this material.
Wow.
For these boats, it has to be about 55 inches wide by about 14 feet long.
So underneath that is there throughout that whole, no, it looks like it's just wood with a beautiful lacquer on it. It's actually got this.
Right, on the bottom, on the hull of the boat, it actually has this. And what that does is adds to the durability of the surface. If you're hitting rocks or...
What is the durability of this little boat?
It's actually pretty good. It's very sturdy and strong. The wood does not flex at all, even though it's very thin. The epoxy makes it very strong, combined with the fiberglass cloth. What the cloth also does is it makes the bottom very durable, so that as you're beaching it on the shore,
Right.
if you hit into a rocky coastline,
Right.
it's going to scratch the finish and the fiberglass cloth and not get down to the wood layer. So in the springtime, you usually patch up the bottom.
Oh, I was gonna say,
finish it.
But these look so good. I mean, these have been out in Martha's Vineyard in the Bay. You say they've been here
Yeah, these been
in Long Island Sound. So and then you're going to patch them up over the spring. Are you going to put them somewhere? I mean, they take up the whole garage.
yeah, they'll be in the garage. I have to work on a place to store them right now, but
Up high. You're going to put them up in a sling.
Probably hang them from the walls or from the ceiling and sort of sling them up there.
Do you honestly think, John, though, that is something I've had so many friends tell me they'd like to buy or own or have the fun of having a small boat for themselves, but that it's a little prohibitive for them? Do you really think that somebody with simple, just beginner skills would be able to do this, or do you think
Yeah, if actually the cost of the kits are around $650
so it's
for the kit.
affordable?
It's
But I mean,
affordable.
person's time now, they have to know what they're doing, or do you think they can walk their way through it?
Yeah, the kit actually comes with very good instructions that walk you through it step by step. If they wanted to purchase plans are in the range of $40 to $50, and you just get the set of blueprints for the boat. And then your material cost would be probably another $300 to $500, depending on...
So going to buy the wood, is that going to be difficult here in Connecticut? What you told me it's called.
Yeah, Okumi. You have
Is
to.
that going to be difficult?
It can be difficult to find in Connecticut. There are places that you can mail order it in. There's a place in White Plains, New York,
I know there is.
that will actually ship it to you via UPS.
So how did you do it? I mean, you had the one kit, you made it, then you built the second one off your skill you learned from the first.
Right. And so I went to White Plains and picked up the wood. It was only for me a 45-minute ride.
And you have a small truck to move in. It's very lightweight, right?
Right. Oh yeah, the wood is very lightweight. This is actually another piece of it right here.
Oh, it weighs nothing practically.
So yeah, it's very, very thin, very lightweight plywood. So it's easy to transport if you have a small pickup truck, or if you wanted to attempt tying it to the.
So you went and bought the wood. So these are the tools you use. The sanders. You have some power sanders.
Right. It pays to have
And the plane.
a couple different types of power sanders. When you get into the finished stages, after the epoxy's all on, you need to sand it smooth.
I see that. You did a nice job
so
on that.
that you get that real glass-like finish. So it pays to have. I use a couple different types. This is a regular just orbital sander. Then I have a random orbital sander, which is a circular one that spins in a random orbit and gives it a very smooth finish. That I use more on the final sanding stages. And to get in some of the interior, just a triangular detail sander.
Well, it looks like a piece of artwork, these two boats. I mean, they sure look beautiful. We're going to get a closer look at them and want to see if we can talk you and your wife, Amy, into taking them down to the nearest public launch. Well, just joining me now is Amy Traganese and John Traganese and their two little boys, and we've just gone from Easton to Fairfield, and where are we now?
We're at Ash Creek, which is an open space area.
Okay, we're at Ash Creek, and they're going to permit us to put the kayaks in the water here. It's a public launch, right?
Right.
Well, Amy, what are we going to do now? What's the plan here?
Well, the plan is to get the boats down to the water, so we put all the equipment and stuff in the boats, and then we lift them up and bring them down.
Okay, you got the life preservers for the kids and
Yep,
for yourselves?
and for ourselves. Some towels and water, a couple of snacks, the paddles, of course.
And John told me a first aid kit.
Yeah, we always have the first aid kit.
Well, okay, we're real happy and excited about this, about being here today, so we're going to watch you take these lightweight kayaks and down to the water, and we're going to see you in there. But we're going to be on the land, okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
pal. Put your life jacket on. There you go. Come on. Buddy. Nope.
That's it. There's a swan. Wow.
Come here, pal.
Gorgeous.